All right, let's talk about something that trips up even the most powerful AI, the real world. Real-world data isn't clean. It's not simple, it's messy, it's complicated, and things overlap. So how in the world do you teach an AI to make sense of all that? Well, the whole challenge really starts with a surprisingly simple question.
I mean, think about it for a second. A movie can be a comedy, but it could also be a romance and a musical all at the same time. Now, for us humans, that's easy, right? But for an AI that's trying to learn neat little categories, this creates a huge problem. How is it supposed to classify something that just refuses to fit into one single box?
So let's get concrete with a real-world example from the source material. Imagine an AI, and its whole job is to analyze sensor data and spot different kinds of noise or interference. Okay, simple enough. But then it finds a sample, and this sample has signs of electrode noise and muscle noise. It's not one or the other, it's both at the same time. This is exactly where a standard AI gets totally confused and its performance just tanks.
Now, this whole headache, it actually has a name in data science. It's a phenomenon that really becomes the villain of our story today, class overlap.
It's called class overlap. And to really get it, you gotta picture the AI's embedding space. Think of it like the AI's own internal map of the world. In a perfect world, the location for electrode noise is way over here, and the spot for muscle noise is way over there. But with this messy, multi-label data, those locations start to bleed into each other, creating this crowded, confusing map where the AI just can't tell where one thing ends and the next one begins.
So this slide really nails it. On the left, you've got the problem. One single AI model trying to juggle all these overlapping labels. And what do you get? A crowded, basically useless map. But on the right, that's the goal. A system where every label has its own clear, distinct territory. So the big question is, how do you get from that mess on the left to the beautiful clarity on the right?
Well, the solution starts with a really simple but powerful idea. Instead of training one generalist AI to do everything poorly, you train an army of specialists. It's just like in medicine, right? You don't go to your family doctor for brain surgery. You go to a highly trained specialist who does one thing and does it perfectly.
And the strategy, the playbook, it unfolds in 4 pretty simple steps. First, you isolate just one label you care about. Let's say muscle noise. Step 2, you go through your entire dataset and relabel everything. It's not complicated anymore. A sample is either muscle noise or it's not muscle noise. That's it. Third, you train a dedicated AI model on this super simple binary task. And finally, you just repeat that process for every single label, building a unique specialist for each and every one.
Now look, this isn't just some theory on a whiteboard. The researchers actually applied this to a real data set with 526 different samples. That number's big enough to be meaningful, but it's also small enough to show just how efficient and practical this specialist strategy can be, even if you don't have these massive troves of data.
So from the point of view of just one of these specialists, say the one whose only job is to look for label A, the world becomes incredibly simple. It looks at all 526 samples and it only sees 2 things. 380 samples that are not A, and 146 samples that are A. All that messy complexity? Gone. Its job is now incredibly focused.
Okay, so creating these specialist models is a huge leap forward. But the researchers didn't stop there. They asked a really smart question. What if one specialist isn't enough? What if we could make the final decision even more robust by putting together a whole team?
And this leads us to the heart of a technique called ensemble modeling. Instead of just relying on a single expert's opinion, you build a committee. You create several different types of specialist models, you show them all the exact same piece of data, and then you just have them vote on the answer. This approach dramatically improves accuracy and reliability. It's a fantastic idea.
So let's meet the team of experts they put together. First up, you've got EfficientNet. Think of this one as the nimble, super efficient member of the team. Then there's the Vision Transformer, or VIT. That's the powerhouse. It just crushes it with huge data sets. And finally, you have the Swin Transformer, a really clever hybrid that's great at seeing both the tiny details and the big picture. Each one brings a totally unique skill set to the table, which means the final vote is going to be really well-rounded.
Okay, so we've got our specialist models, we've got our team of experts, but there's one last piece to this puzzle. Because to get the absolute best performance, you have to make sure you're giving your experts the best possible information to begin with.
So the researchers ran an experiment. They fed their AI team 2 different kinds of data. The first type was the full data. Think of that as a wide-angle photograph, with lots of context. The second type was a much more focused subset of the data, zeroing in on just the most critical power metrics, kind of like a zoomed-in, high-resolution shot. By testing both, they could figure out which view allowed their team of experts to make the most accurate calls.
So let's put it all together. What we're looking at here isn't just one clever trick. It's a whole multi-layered strategy for building an AI system that is just fundamentally more intelligent and more adaptable.
Let's just do a quick recap. The problem was class overlap, right? Where messy, multi-labeled data was just confusing the AI. The solution came in 3 parts. First, replace one confused generalist with an army of focused specialists. Second, assemble those specialists into a diverse team of experts that can all vote. And third, fine-tune the information you're giving that team. And the result? It's an AI that's not just more accurate, but one that is fundamentally more capable of handling the messiness of the real world.
You know, at the end of the day, this isn't just about identifying noise in some sensor data. The principle here is universal. This is a blueprint for teaching machines how to navigate the gray areas, the ambiguity that really defines our world. It's about moving from an AI that needs perfect, clean data to one that actually thrives in the mess. Which kind of leaves us with a final big question to chew on. We've just seen a roadmap for teaching AI how to solve a messy, human kind of problem. So as this approach gets better and better, what other challenges that we think are impossible for machines right now? Things like diagnosing complex diseases, understanding legal nuance, maybe even creativity. What if those things suddenly become solvable? The future of AI might be less about raw computing power and a whole lot more about learning to navigate the beautiful complexity of reality.